Jeff Koenig, Property Prep here. Yesterday was my birthday, and it's been about 18 years since I've been doing this job.
You finally turned 18.
And I wanted to discuss some of the things I've learned in my 18 years. Today, I'm going to share the top 5 things I've learned in my career in property maintenance. Dependable is better than cheap. This is easier said than done. Everyone's working on a budget, and we're cognizant of that at our company. In construction, we say that there's a triangle. One side is value, the other side is speed, and the last one is quality. And you can pick two. At Property Prep, we try to provide great service at a reasonable price and at the highest quality. And I learned very early on in my career through owning my own rental properties that skimping on the company that I hire was wrong. For example, the next topic we're going to talk about is roofing. Roofing was wrong, it goes wrong. And the reason that roofing is so important is that when it rains, you could have across a management portfolio of hundreds of properties, tons and tons of work orders, and you're going to be inundated. So it's important to spend the right amount of money on roofing. Let me tell you a little story about roofing before we go back to some of the details.
Here we go.
Maybe about 10 years ago, I hired this guy named Angel Rosario, and I met him at Home Depot. And that's where things started going wrong. Don't meet your roofer at Home Depot, usually not a good idea. Angel, a Puerto Rican gentleman, spoke with a heavy Wisconsin accent and still a Puerto Rican accent as well. So it was really funny. I can't even do an impression of it, and I can usually do accents pretty well. But it was crazy. So I said, I should probably hire this guy. He's got a cool accent. But that's not a reason to hire somebody. It turns out Angel Rosario's business card had, "You can dream it, we can build it." But he wasn't so good at the building part, was very good at the dreaming part and taking the money. So had a property that I did early on in my career, and it was my property, and God, I think that thing still leaks to this day. And we had to redo we're gonna have to redo the entire roof. I mean, we've tried to fix it, but just skimped on the materials and skimped on the nails and didn't put enough nails in per shingle. So you really wanna hire a high quality company that knows what they're doing with roofing. So at our firm, we use a high quality shingle. We use great ice and water, because in the Midwest, we have snow that sits on the roof for a long period of time. That water can work its way up and through ice dams into the valleys and into the area above the gutters. So for at least the first 3 feet, we're using ice and water shield, as well as 3 feet on either side of the valley. And very importantly is the chimney flashing, which is the source of a lot of leaks. We cut in a reglet, which means that we use an angle grinder, and we will grind away about 4 inches and recess a piece of tin into the flashing instead of using one of those pre-made flashings. So all roofers are not created equal, and at this point, most of the buildings that we do maintenance for other companies are flat roofs. There are 2 types of main flat roofs that we're dealing with, and those are EPDM, which is rubber, and TPO, which is another type of rubber. I don't know exactly what it stands for, but Will's gonna put it in the description. Actually, Will's gonna put it right here. And I like TPO a lot. It's robotically welded, and it's a great product. We just used it on a job last week, and we'll insert some footage of that project. And it really is a superior product. It comes in many colors, depending on what you're trying to achieve. You could use a black to help with the melting of snow, or you could use a white to keep the energy bills down during the hot summer. Early on in my career, I learned this lesson from my parents, and that's always drive a pickup truck. My parents live in a beautiful neighborhood, and I'd say that they have one of the houses that's least nice in the neighborhood. There are a lot of very, very, very fancy houses, and we always used to say that you get the neighborhood discount, which means they charged you extra for living in that neighborhood. And at our company, we have standard rate pricing, so that's sort of part of our ethos and in our in our handbook and in our training, everyone gets the same price regardless of how big your project is, how small your project is, or where you live or who you are. I think that's really important. But what my parents taught me was a valuable lesson in consumer behavior. This gentleman who was going to paint their house pulled up to estimate the project, and he was driving a Range Rover. That's great. You can make a lot of money in the trades, and I encourage a lot of young people to get into the trades for that reason. But the Range Rover rubbed my parents the wrong way, and I think it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. You should be driving a pickup truck. So not only for utility reasons, because I can't tell you the number of the times one of my guys is missing something on a job site and I have to throw something in the back of my truck and bring it to them, but it also projects the right image, and image is important if we're being honest. Driving a Range Rover is fine on the weekend, although I don't do that. I will always drive my pickup truck. I will always own a pickup truck, and I think that the utility is the first reason to own one, but the second reason is it's very important for customers to see that you have tools on your truck and that you're able to pitch in if there is ever a problem. And people want to work for people who know what they're doing. When we were starting in this business, it was during the Great Recession, and it was at the beginning, and everyone was laid off. So plumbing was cheap, and because there were a lot of people laid off and a lot of competition. But plumbing has become probably the most expensive trade. And it's really important, though, to make sure that if we're opening a wall and there's galvanized plumbing or something old in the wall that may have a leak down the road, that we're replacing that with a product that's viable for the long term. We don't want to ever have to come back for the same project, and we want to future-proof it. So, for example, I have a property that has galvanized piping in it. This is theoretical. Galvanized piping, especially on the hot side, there's a reaction with the pipe, and the hot side clogs like someone's artery when they're having a heart attack. So in a galvanized building, you will always see the hot side has a lower flow than the cold side. And if you're using something like our favorite valve, the Moen Positemp, which is a pressure balance valve, which means that the pressure from the hot side and the cold side have to be identical for the valve to work, when you start having those galvanized pipes, those valves stop working altogether. I actually have one in my house where I'm going to have to snake in my historic home new PEX lines up so that one of those valves starts working again. I have tons of water pressure on the cold side, but almost just a trickle on the hot side. It would probably work with a different valve, but it's not worth it, and it's not an enjoyable shower experience. So when you have that wall open, make sure you're switching to something like PEX or copper, which will stand the test of time. People who try to save money using something like CPVC or something similar to that are going to have a problem down the road. So make sure you use the best. That's inside the wall. When you back outside of the wall, another important thing is to use a standardized faucet and a great toilet. We like Moen for the faucets and the mixer valves, and that is because the Positemp cartridge has a lifetime warranty and also is easy to come in and out, and most plumbers and we carry them on our trucks constantly, so it's a very easy swap out. It takes about 20 minutes total in and out, and it's very clean. And usually, if you're working in an apartment building, there'll be stops on the actual fixture, so you don't have to shut the building down, you just shut the actual fixture down. And it really makes swapping them in and out easy, and they also make the same thing for a faucet. When we talk about toilets, we have the American Standard Champion 4. That thing's a beast. When you're coming up on state fair season, you are going to be having toilet clogs. And this toilet is the best. It's the one that they put all the golf balls in and flush it down. It's got a full 4-inch port all the way through the toilet, and I believe it's glazed all the way through the toilet. So those are the things that cause obstructions, is when the toilet narrows as it makes it through the trap. The trap in the back of the toilet stops the sewer gas smell from coming back in, and as does the water in the tank, in the bowl. But we use that Champion 4, and while it does have a little bit of a tendency to have a malfunction with the handle snapping off because it's made cheaply, you can't beat it for clogs. So really making sure that you're planning your plumbing system properly, that you have a clean out if you have an old cast iron stack that you've cut a PVC clean out before it's time to snake the thing, because inevitably your tenants are gonna put some baby wipes down the thing and it's gonna get clogged. Baby wipes and condoms are the number 1 and 2 issues that we experience in Kleenex. Number 1, 2, and 3 issues that we experience when we're snaking drains. So making sure that the entire system is designed, and a company like us can come through and do an audit on that system and create a standard operating procedure across your properties so that we have the stuff on our truck to fix your problems, and so that you're having fewer problems by future-proofing it and doing the installation properly once. Owning my own properties before I started doing maintenance for other people, we always used to say in property management, the answer is no. And what's important in property management is standardization, because there are a tremendous number of laws that govern fair housing, that govern the treatment of tenants, and depending on the state that you're in, there may be really pro-tenant laws, and you have to be really careful. So if you're investing in real estate, I would advise, A, you bring on a company like us who is experienced on the maintenance, but if you're doing the leasing yourself, that you've really gone to a class that teaches you all about the laws and the regulations, and that you have your lease reviewed by a lawyer. So we always say the answer is no, because while customer service is paramount, and it is still a service business, oftentimes if you give one person something, you have to give everyone that. So you have to follow the standard operating procedures, and you work your way down the list. So the call comes in, can I plant a flower bed? It sounds great, and it sounds like it's gonna make a tenant stay for longer. But I've had experiences with these flower beds and it never ends well. The tenant always lets the thing grow full of weeds, and it ends up being the responsibility of the property manager or maintenance company like us to come through and demolish it after the tenants let it go to seed, and we have to send you a bill for it. So things like that are really reasons why no is the answer, and that this has to be a standardized business, not a customized business. You may be able to do that on the very high end, but there are very few of our clients that are at that level. So we need to treat everyone with respect, everyone the same, provide excellent service, uniformity. But for example, painting. Can I paint the walls? The answer is no, you can't paint the walls. We have to have standardized colors. And that's something that we come up with when we meet with you at your property to come up with a maintenance plan for your specific building or your portfolio. Again, as one of Southeastern Wisconsin's most experienced providers of maintenance and outsourced janitorial work, we would love to talk to you about your specific properties, applying my experience in property management, our team's experience in property maintenance, to make sure that we have a holistic plan for your property, that we've applied the mistakes that we've made and those lessons towards making your business better and more efficient, and that we are providing the best service to you and your clients at the most affordable price. We really thank you for tuning into our video series. We've surpassed 500 subscribers. We're on the way to 1,000. We'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell if you'd like to receive notifications. And Father's Day is fast approaching. If you have Amazon Prime, you have probably to order it today. There's a card up at the top to a link to the top Father's Day items for 2025. Have a great day.